Kentucky's trying to be patient in the transfer portal, and their patience may reward them soon with a phenomenal front court player.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are diving right back into the transfer portal. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we do not sleep here at Locked On Kentucky, breaking down all things going on for the Cats in the portal. And goodness gracious, there are so many different names that we have yet to get to. We're going to get to 3 more here today, and who knows if things occur over the weekend with some possible breaking news, maybe some commitments. I don't know anything, but we'll be back here, of course, to break down that as well. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, and if you need one now, you can grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. You can stock up today and stay energized. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms, and if you're watching on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the show there. If you're listening on podcast, wherever you're tuned in, thank you so much for listening. Would love it if you subscribe. We've got so much to dive into here today, jam-packed on yet another transfer portal edition of Locked On Kentucky. This is what you guys come for, and of course, we're going to be breaking it all down here, starting with the biggest name right now in the transfer portal, in my opinion, that is closely tied to Kentucky. According to various outlets out there, there is a player in the front court, specifically formerly overseas, played at Robert Morris, that Kentucky is picking up some steam for, and that is Alvaro Folgueiras. That's right, the Robert Morris squad that nearly took down the Alabama Crimson Tide. They had a front court piece there that I have described in my notes as Big Z on steroids. With all due respect to Ivisic, and I really do hope that wherever he goes, he is able to find success. Folgueras, I think, is a lot of what Kentucky fans hoped Ivisic would pan out to be, and I think a lot of that starts on the defensive end, at least for me. So we've talked about already on this show kind of what Mark Pope and Kentucky looks like they're going after. Pope himself has described on a radio show the 3 different things he's going after: character, decision-making, shooting. Here, I think it's very important to understand, look, Kentucky lacked physicality in their front court throughout the course of the entire season, and they lacked rim protection. And I think this guy here in Alvaro Folgueras could be somebody that kind of helps UK there. 6'9", 220 pounds, but the thing that jumps off the page to me here is his defensive rating, 95.4. That's what it was at Robert Morris, and before any of you say he was playing at Robert Morris, he was playing in the Horizon League, it was this, that, or the other, take a look at the two of the teams that are currently in the Final Four, Florida and Auburn. Walter Clayton Jr. came from Iona. Janai Broome came from Morehead State. Chad Baker-Mazara was a JUCO player that played at Duquesne and San Diego State. You look across the board, Denver Jones, one of the best on-ball defenders in the entire country for Auburn, came from FIU. These guys here, when it comes to star rankings, it doesn't really matter, especially relative to what goes on in football. I think it matters way more in football, and we're starting to see here, as the transfer portal is blown itself wide open with all these guys entering, you can find defense, you can find offense, you can find talent anywhere, and I think Kentucky's onto something here with Folgueras. 13.8 points per game a season ago while shooting 54.4% from the floor, 41.5% from 3, 78.3% from the charity stripe, while averaging almost 9 rebounds and 3.1 assists per game, 1.3 steals, and 1.1 blocks. A solid defensive rating. He's got the point totals, he's got the efficiency, he's got the steals, he's got everything here. This is probably the most well-rounded player we're going to see on paper enter the portal that is tied to Kentucky. And again, there are reports coming out of a variety of outlets right now that Kentucky is tied to this guy. Now, he's currently in Spain, and he wants to get back and take visits, but Kentucky, according to various places on 3/24/7, they've said Kentucky has positioned themselves well to get Folgueras in the portal. Big Z on steroids. And I think that phrase right there kind of encapsulates why this would be such a perfect addition for Mark Pope in Kentucky. It's a stretch four that can shoot the ball and play defense. That's what I'm talking about. Energy, shooting, decision-making. You talk about decision-making. This kid will line one up and shoot one quick, whether it's at the rim or whether it's from beyond the arc. Quick trigger, very, very aggressive player, explosive, can handle the ball at 6'9", 6'10". Here's some of the stats here for you, kind of diving deep past the 14 points and almost 9 rebounds. 66% at the rim. That's over half of his field goal attempts. Super efficient. And when you watch this kid's tape, he is flying, and I mean flying to the rim with no regard for his life. It seems like at times, not even his own, this kid is going at the rack, and nobody is going to stop him, especially considering his size. You go and watch his highlight reel, he's throwing down dunk after dunk after dunk after dunk on people, where people will clear out. He will get to the rim, and he will finish, and ladies and gentlemen, that's what Kentucky's looking for. They're looking for athleticism, quick decision-making, and explosiveness, some athleticism to add to that front court. And on top of that, he's got a great stroke, and he's shooting, again, 41.5% from threes. He shot 42% on right break threes. He's got a quick trigger. Again, this kid will pull from anywhere. He's also shooting 50%, want to reiterate that here, 50% on left break threes. That's 10% of his field goal attempts. Efficient, inside, outside, explosive, athletic. Somebody that Kentucky, it's at a position Kentucky desperately needs. Why would you not want this kid? With the defense to boot as well. Look at some of the percentiles when it comes to how he scores. 94th percentile of catch and shoot players, 64% effective field goal percentage. Again, this kid is 6'9", 220. As a 94th percentile guy when it comes to catch and shoot shots, 86th percentile of spot-up scores, 82nd percentile of post-up scores, 80th percentile of roll/pop scores. He's here in the 80th percentile of transition scores as well. This kid gets it done, 81st, This kid gets it done everywhere. Efficient, explosive. Every single word that you could use to describe this kid in relation to how it fits with Mark Pope and this roster that needs power forwards, it's perfect. This is perfect. And on top of all of this, and I think this is probably one of the reasons why Mark Pope wants to meet this kid, is thrilled about possibly adding this guy. He's got a 22% assist rate. That is great. Great stats for a big. Great vision for a big. When you watch this guy, we're going to get to two guys here that have really high assist rates. I think because of the attention they command offensively, they draw a lot of doubles, and you see a lot of easy stuff off of that. But when it comes to Folgueras, he's kind of making some of these things happen. He's a flashy passer. The shooting, the defense, the efficiency, the athleticism. It's what Kentucky was asking for 2 seasons ago, and I think if they're able to land him, it's what they would get here. Alvaro Folgueras would be a perfect addition to this roster, and I'm so excited to see if Kentucky can land this kid. And for anybody out there that is worried about Kentucky missing or Kentucky whiffing on prospects, we're going to get to that at the end of the show. But first, I want to talk about 2 more guys here that I am just fired up about. The fact that Kentucky is even in the conversation for them, I think, is incredible. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Fabric. Life moves super fast, especially when you have a family. And one day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future now is so important. And Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. You get peace of mind, it's affordable coverage, and it goes beyond life insurance as well, because Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. You can join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Disclaimer: policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. Obviously, as a Braves fan, things have not been going so well for me to start the season, as they're one of the few teams that are winless. I believe they might be the only winless team left in baseball, but because of how talented this roster is, despite the injuries, I can go onto Prize Picks and say, hey, look, things are bound to change soon, and I'm going more on a lot of different players that are left in the Braves rotation, at least the ones that are currently healthy. You can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, continuing along here on the Friday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance hanging out here with you. Really appreciate you guys checking out the show today. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Let me know what you think about Folgueras. I think he would just be a perfect addition to this roster, and I've got 2 more guys here for you that I think could be really, really fun and intriguing additions. Maybe not the most perfect fit for at least one of them. We'll talk about that later, but first I want to get to a guy here that is one of the best scorers in the entire nation. Pure athlete at 6'5", coming out of Jacksonville State, Jiren Pierre. The 6'5" guard/wing, 6'5", 190 pounds. And you talk about explosiveness. You talk about quick decision-making. You talk about shooting. This kid has it all. This past season averaged 21.6 points per game, shooting 42.5% from the floor, 38.2% from 3, shooting 81% from beyond the arc, while also averaging 5.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and nearly a steal per contest. This is one of, if not the best scorers in the entire nation. Again, the quick decision-making, the driving, the explosiveness, the athleticism, you're going to see it all there on his highlight tape, and you start to see some of the numbers whenever you go and look. I believe one of these big-time YouTube channels is like College Basketball Scouting or something like that. It does a lot of breakdown of kids that are entering the transfer portal. You get to see some of his numbers there. 53% at the rim. That's what he's shooting. That's about a quarter of his field goal attempts. His driving to the basket, his ability to finish, his strength, I think would be super fun to watch with a guy like Otega Dawe. You put Dawe at the 2, Pierre at the 3. You get somebody else that's a really solid assist man at that 1 spot. I think that watching those 2 guys go to work would be super fun to watch because this kid drives with authority. He's also an incredibly confident shooter, as is Folgueras. I mean, both these guys will pull, and they are legit deep range shooters. 35% on right break threes. That's a 5th of his field goal attempts. Also a 5th of his field goal attempts are left break threes, which he shoots 41% on. So you get some efficiency there at 6'5" on the left side. You get some efficiency at the rim. A legit deep range shooter. 48% at the right elbow, which is what he's shooting. That's good. That's 8% of his field goal attempts on top of, just like Folgueras, a 22% assist rate. Now, Pierre gets some of his assists because he just draws so much attention defensively that rollers, cutters, get easy dump-offs or catches at the rim. I'm not necessarily thrilled, whoa, I think he's one of the most impressive passers in the nation. I think his scoring ability is really what kind of gets people intrigued here, but I do like the fact that he is such a legitimate scorer that you get some help and he will make you pay. You also look at some of his percentiles of how he scores. He's in the 80th percentile of catch-and-shoot players, 57% effective field goal percentage, 65th percentile of ball screen handlers. He's quick, he's strong. It's bully ball at times because of his size. Again, I think combining him with Dawe makes a really, really fun 1-2 punch at the 2-3 spots there because of the strength and the physicality getting to the rim. You give these guys a ball screen, they're going to get downhill and get aggressive. You get somebody like Folgueras. I mean, you talk about what Kentucky was doing back with Cal with the dribble drive. You give somebody a screen and let him go. The Folgueras, Dawe, and Pierre would all be really, really fun to watch in that system. I think they would be even better in this one because of how much attention the 5 men get in the Kentucky offense, you start to build a strong case here for why guys like Pierre Folgueiras, legit shooters that have some athleticism to boot, would be so lethal in a Pope system that plays with so much tempo and efficiency. 73rd percentile of isolation scores, that's where Pierre is at. Tough shot maker, tough shot taker there, obviously. 74th percentile of spot-up scores, really effective in transition as well. Pierre, one of the leading scorers in this entire country, has been contacted by Kentucky. If I'm not mistaken, he was taking a visit to SMU, and Kentucky, I don't know how much of their staff, and I don't even know if this is official, I'm pretty sure this was reported, they went out to Dallas to actually see him, to actually talk with him before the dead period, which I think is interesting when you start to think about kind of where the transfer portal is right now, kind of where Kentucky is. They were trying to get things in quickly before the dead period occurred. I appreciate the hustle, appreciate the attention here from the staff. Again, to everybody out there thinking that Kentucky's not trying to get active in the portal, it's just simply not true. Also need to note, the portal opens back up on the 11th and it closes on the 22nd. So you're getting all of this information here right now as the portal ends, or portal goes to its dead period. This staff is trying to get as much work as they can done possible with whatever war room that they've got, whatever board that they've got, breaking down all these kids, how they'd fit, trying to make sure that kids on the roster currently stay home. Garrison, Oway, Chandler, Noah, etc. I think Kentucky's going to be okay. If they're able to get somebody like Pierre, look, you got a high-profile guy in your backcourt to pair with Oway, and those two guys could turn it up alongside a Caden Lewis and Jasper Johnson. So let me know what you think about Pierre, somebody else that I think could be a great addition to this roster. We're going to be wrapping up the show with a guy from Princeton that is, he is a volume type of guy. This kid is getting them shots up. Before we dive into that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, which depending on the day, it feels like I'm still being affected by that, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, staying up late tracking planes as they go across the U.S. as Kentucky's in portal season, or if you're squeezing in a round of golf after work, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. You can head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blues raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack, and it's delivered right to your door. And if you need one now, 5 Hour Energy shots, you can find them at your local grocery or convenience store. They're literally everywhere, so you can stock up today and stay energized. All right, wrapping up the Friday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Again, if you guys have not subscribed, if you want to let me know what you think about these portal players, some of you guys may be melting down about the fact that Kentucky's only got one commitment here in Cam Williams, who I think is perfect for this team, by the way. It's exactly what fans were asking for: athleticism, positional versatility, shooting, size. You got that in the Tulane transfer in Cam Williams, which, by the way, kid's got multiple years, so you've got a lot of time to work with this kid. There's a guy here, though, we're going to wrap up the show with, and then we'll get to why you shouldn't panic. That is getting them shots up. Somebody that apparently has been contacted by the Kentucky, apparently got a FaceTime call from Mark Pope earlier this morning, and that's Xavian Lee out of Princeton, the New Jersey product. What do we know about Xavian Lee? Well, first and foremost, this kid is fast, he's speedy in the half court, not necessarily in transition. And he is getting shots up. If I'm not mistaken, and I'll pull these stats up back up here real quick. He is getting up about 15 shot attempts per game, averaging 17 points per contest, while shooting 44% from the floor, 36.5% from three, averages 6.1 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.2 steals per game. This kid is getting shots up, and he's getting them up quick. You talk about quick drivers, quick decision makers. You see them here in Folgueras. You see them here in Pierre, and you're seeing it here in Lee. All three of these guys, I think, check the boxes for Kentucky when it comes to what they're looking for in the portal. Legit speed in the half court, driving and finishing, shoots 51% at the rim, 47% of his field goal attempts. Not necessarily the most efficient player beyond the arc, 35% on right break threes, 37% on left break threes. But the two things that I think are the most intriguing parts of this kid's game here, at 6'4", by the way, is the 36% assist rate, which is 19th nationally. The kid's a great passer. And on top of this, he's a really good ball handler. The kid is dribbling a ton, trying to break guys down, get to the rim, or put a shot up. And it's reflected in his shooting statistics. All this time, we've talked about Mark Pope and the transfer portal and what Kentucky's going after. We see all these catch and shoot guys, these spot up guys, these guys that are really effective whenever you just give them the ball and they're ready to shoot. This guy's awful at catch and shoot. 40% effective field goal percentage. That's the 26th percentile nationally. That's really bad. But the weird thing is that he is in the 76th percentile of shooters off of the dribble. 55% effective field goal percentage. I literally have never seen that in a prospect that we have covered on this show looking at what Kentucky wants out of the portal. I have not seen a guy that is horrible in catch and shoot, but is great off of the dribble. That's just really weird. Normally you don't see that at all. 74th percentile of ball screen scores. 74th percentile spot up. He's got to get a dribble or two in before he shoots. He's got great footwork, great handling, really good in isolation as well. I believe he's 74th or 73rd percentile of ISO scores. This kid will break you down, get to his spots, and finish. He's not the most efficient player in the world, but for his size and for what he is as a guard out of Princeton, he's a good player. He's a really good player, a bucket getter. Now, you have to ask the question, what is Kentucky going to be doing offensively next season? Are they going to want somebody like this that is so ball dominant with a 36% assist rate, getting shots up, working off the dribble so much? I don't know, but he's so intriguing that it's hard not to see at least Kentucky getting a look at him, a hard look at him. So that's where I stand on that. And then to wrap up the show, I just wanted to throw this out there. This time last season, I believe we only had one guy on roster, and that was Travis Perry. Pope was just getting started on the job. There was a lot in front of Kentucky when it comes to roster building, management, getting guys that fit well together. He was able to take, in essence, a band of misfits. Not misfits, I shouldn't say that. He was able to hodgepodge together a roster. That's a better term. He was able to throw all these guys together and pick up 24 wins and make the Sweet 16. Kentucky's got guys coming back. They've got guys that are developing. And I'm going to be honest with you, you don't need a whole roster, so be selective. You don't need every player in the portal, so be selective. And that's what I think Kentucky's doing right now. They want kids that, as Pope said last year, want to play for the name on the jersey, and they want to come play for this university. Obviously, there's going to be money involved. Obviously, there's going to be deals made. Kentucky, I don't think, wants to throw themselves into a bunch of bidding wars, and I think they've proven that so far. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to at all, by no means, but it doesn't mean that they're just here slacking out money for every single player that they can get, like some of the other big-time schools that have already done work in the portal. And I'm not saying that method is bad, by the way. There have been some really good schools that have picked up some great players quickly. Louisville, I think, being a prime example of that. But because you don't need all of these guys, because you don't need 12 players, you can afford to be a little selective. You can afford to be patient and get the guys that you want. I'm going to be honest with you. Based on how the first season went, with Kentucky having to take certain players, and you still picked up 24 wins, and almost all of them looked great in your system, I'm going to trust the staff on this one. I'm going to trust the process on this one. Yes, Kentucky's probably going to miss on some kids. Yes, Kentucky's probably not going to get every single guy that they want, but they have the money, and they have the time, And so I think when you look at that and look at last year's roster and see all of these different guys they had to make work, and they worked, I trust what's going on here. So I'm not panicking. I'm not worried. I'm not freaking out. I think Kentucky's going to be just fine. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hey, you can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.